All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. For those of you who I haven't met before, my name is Erin O'Brien. I am a Thermix consultant and team leader based in Druin in Victoria. And tonight I'm bringing you this virtual on behalf of my team. Just a little way to kind of kickstart us into 2026. This is our first team virtual and my first virtual for the year as well. It's been a sluggish start for me with school holidays. For those of you who don't know, I have five young children, so the school holidays have been a bit chaotic. But I thought it's time to start getting back into it, start making some beautiful, healthy dishes. Not that I haven't been. I think if any time my Thermix is saving me, it is on school holidays when I can throw dinner in and walk away and deal with all of the other chaos. But yeah, we would bring you this virtual tonight just to show you how perhaps a TM7 could help you in the kitchen, or for those of you who already have a Thermomix, to show you some new ideas and inspiration, hopefully share some hints and tips with you and that kind of thing. So thank you for joining me. I'd love you to pop in the chat box. I'm going to bring it up so I can see it first. Where are you watching from tonight? And do you have a Thermomix? And if so, what model? Just so I can get a bit of an idea who's watching along. All right, I'm going to go over to my TM7 and we'll get cooking. Please, as we are going, pop any questions at all in the chat box. I will answer them. I've also got Hayden, one of the consultants from our team, I think, in the chat box, who will also help answer any questions. But yeah, fire away. Even if I don't answer them straight away, I'll be sure to come back to them as we're cooking. I like to make these demos as relaxed and hopefully like so that you can get as much out of it as possible. So again, welcome. Yeah, I would love you to pop in the chat box also and let me know what brought you here tonight. Are you, an owner that is keen to learn more? Are you thinking about upgrading to the TN7? Have you never seen a Thermomix in action and just thought this is a good way to do it? Let me know. Pop it in the chat box. Just going to skip on past this because it doesn't work too well. So I'd love also to know if you are happy to put it in the chat box, or even if you just have a little bit of a think about it for now. When it comes to food and cooking, what would be the most important thing to you and to your family if you have a family at home? So if you think about things like saving time, saving money, maybe being a bit more creative in the kitchen, what else? Eating healthier, anything like that. Have a little think, pop in the chat box if you're happy to. But what would be the most important thing to you and your family when it comes to food and cooking? I know for me, like I said, I am a mum of five and a nurse in my other life as well. So for me, it is saving time. I cannot spend hours in the kitchen each day cooking. I need to pop it on and be able to do other things at the same time. And healthy. I like to know what is in the food my kids are eating. I notice a big difference when they eat lots of prepackaged food and all that kind of thing. So being able to cook it from scratch and cut out additives and preservatives is really important to me. Oh, yes, we definitely need to share some more tips. We want you getting as most out of your Thermix as possible. That's what these virtuals are so great for doing that. So hopefully, yeah, you can do that. All right, so just a very brief cover. For those of you who don't have a TM7, you get everything that you see here. We will see a fair bit of it in action tonight, but obviously the Thermomix itself, the spatula, the butterfly whisk, the simmering basket, and the varoma with two levels on that. And it is an all-inclusive price of $2,649. There are a few different ways to get one in your kitchen if that's something that you're interested in, but we'll go into all that in a bit more detail later. For now, we're going to get cooking. So for those of you, again, who haven't seen a TM7 in action, there are a couple of different ways to use it. So we can cook manually using time, temperature, and speed, which we do in all our recipes, which I'll explain as we're going. But we also have guided cooking through Cookie which is our virtual recipe platform. So tonight we're going to be using guided cooking. There's over 90,000 recipes from all over the world on Cookie so there are plenty to pick from. And then we have our different modes that are available as well that you can cook directly through. But I'll chat through all that as we're going. And again, please feel free to ask any questions. But we are going to get to cooking. So this is the home screen of our TM7. There are a few different ways that you can kind of customize the home screen, I like to have it so that I can see my planned recipes at the top with a couple of different kind of quick options here. And if I only had a couple of things planned today, they would be there, but I have a few. So I'm going to go into my week so I can see them all together. So you can see what is on the menu tonight. We've got the Marry Me chicken pasta. We've got choy bao, and we are going to use a bread recipe to make some quick little rolls as well. Well, that reminds me, I need to pop the oven on. All right, so this recipe, the kind of why I want to show you this is just the versatility of the bread dough essentially, and how quick and easy it is to make all different things. So this is my personal favorite bread recipe. I find it really easy. It gives me great results every time. But there are a huge amount of bread recipes on Cookie Do. So if you've got a different favorite, that's okay. You can use it for anything. So I use the Thermomum bread recipe for rolls, for scrolls, for garlic bread, like anything bread related, I use this particular recipe. So it doesn't have to just be a loaf of bread, if that makes sense. So from here, if we wanted to, we can scroll down, check all of our ingredients, check which particular models that it's available for. This one, obviously, you can do any model, but there are a couple that are limited to different particular models. Then all the way down to our preparations, our tips are there as well. And you can also add in some notes. So if you know you've cooked this once before and you made some changes that you want to be able to remember from last time, you can add them in there. But we are just going to hit start cooking and get straight into it. So Cookie Do, our that virtual recipe platform I was telling you about before, so it is guided cooking. So it is just going to step us through every little step of our recipe. So we're just going to work down our first lot of ingredients. And the TM7 has automatic lid sensors, so there's no need to tear the scales once I take the lid off, and you'll just see the scales on the right-hand side here. So we're adding in 270 grams of water. Oh, now that. And you also notice one of the features of the TM7 is the automatic ticking off of ingredients as well. So when they're ingredients by weight, when you reach that weight, it will tick it off for you. And then a teaspoon of sugar. Obviously, for a teaspoon, it's not going to automatically tick off, so we're just going to do that ourselves. Oh, nearly threw my yeast all over the bench soon. 1.5 teaspoons of yeast. Just make sure you're keeping your yeast in the fridge to keep it fresh. Otherwise, it will die on you and then you won't have successful bread. 450 grams of baker's flour. Anyone making breads or doughs, rolls, things like this at the moment, whether you have a Thermomix or if you don't, are you making them or what are you making? Perhaps if you aren't making them, what are you buying at the moment? Are you buying like bread rolls, like scrolls for lunch boxes, that kind of thing? One and a half teaspoons of salt. And 1.5 teaspoons of bread improver. It does say optional on here. I honestly find that it does make a difference. I prefer to add it in. You can just get it from the supermarket. If you don't have bread improver, you can use apple cider vinegar as a replacement for it as well. But yeah, you can leave it out. I just find that it does make a difference if you pop it in. Or sourdough. I keep tossing up whether to get back into sourdough or not, but the problem is I eat it too much. I did get into it in COVID like everybody else, and then I let it go for a while. But now I keep seeing all these beautiful sourdoughs and flavored sourdoughs, and I'm on the fence about whether I should start again. All right, so all of that's in now. So once we tick off the last ingredients and press next, it takes us to our kneading mode. So this is just like our digital companion here is what we call it. So it just mimics exactly what we're doing or what we wanted, like what the Thermomix wants us to do as well. So you will see that if I take the lid off, the lid comes off. It's just telling me to put it back on. And now we've just got kneading. So the wheat symbol is our knead for 6 minutes there. One thing you will notice on the TM7, which is an important fact, especially if you've upgraded, is that it does move around a little bit more than the TM6. This is because it's got where previous models we used a glider board to move it around, the TM7 has been designed so that it has a glider foot. So I can lift up the front and just move it safely around the bench by kind of gliding it on its back foot. Because of that, though, I do find it moves more particularly when kneading. So never leave your Thermomix unattended while you're kneading. Obviously, lots of other things like cooking. You can go outside with the kids, fold the washing, whatever you need to do. But kneading is the one thing that we always keep an eye on because it will move around the bench. You'll see afterwards. I just tell all my customers that your Thermomix needs you when it's kneading. Remember that one. All right. Now, I am very lucky and fortunate to have 2 TM7s. So we are going to move over to this one to get our next dish cooking while that's kneading away. Again, any questions, pop them in the chat box as we are going. Back over to my week. And this time we are going to start the Barmy chicken pasta. I think I lost my little French right there. No, actually, we might start with our Sancho out. So I'm just going to go back and just tick that one. Again, scroll down if you want to, but I'm just going to hit start. Get straight into it. Has anyone made this one before? Might not be something that jumps out at you to make, but it is absolutely delicious. The flavors are amazing and it's really easy. However, I actually use a Costco baker's flour. I buy it in bulk. It is a very big bag. That's the only thing. But yeah, like I said, for my big family, that's not such a problem. But yeah, it's a lot cheaper than any of the supermarket brands. So we're going to put into here 250 grams of pork loin. It does say partially frozen, but not going to lie, I got distracted and forgot to pop mine in the freezer. That's okay. So it's just cut up into pieces. So we're going to make our own pork mince here in a couple of seconds. Steps. Next. So this has got 2 seconds on this little symbol mode here is our turbo. So pop the lid on and that is going to turbo that for us. So Riley, I would say it varies a lot and it just depends on the recipe you're making. Like I said, I have a family of 7 and my kids, they might be little, but they're actually massive eaters and they're not, I'm very lucky that they're not fussy eaters at all. And I don't have any problems. I will make alterations to some recipes. I might add a bit more like of the protein when I'm cooking or bulk it up with more veggies. Not everything by any means, but some recipes I'll add a little bit extra in. But yeah, I easily find that it cooks for us. Generally with leftovers for hubby's lunch as well. All right, so that has turboed that up into like pork mince there. It's just telling us to set that aside. Next, I'll just show you again if the lighting's a bit better in the bowl there. It's just the same. And now the rest of the pork loin steak. So we're doing 500 grams in total. So we just do it in 2 quick steps, just so that it chops evenly and doesn't kind of mash up too much. Maybe I'll just put my lid. So next again, and the same at 2 seconds on turbo. Right. So then we're going to next again, and we're just going to pop that aside in the same bowl for a moment. So just next all the time, just keep on moving through. So into there now, we're going to place 10 grams of sesame oil. Running a bit low on sesame oil, but that's okay. I think one really important thing to remember with Cookie Do and guided cooking is that it is just a guide. So if at any time you want to change anything, and so we did 10 grams of peanut oil as well. Anytime you want to change anything, add extra, cut things back, move it around, then it's completely up to you. You can always do it. Guided cooking is just a guide. All right, so into there now, we're going to place 250 grams of that pork mince. So we're just going to. So if you wanted to and you had pork mince at home, you can obviously skip the step of making it and just use pork mince straight in there. But yeah, it takes a couple of seconds. We know exactly what's in it. And now we are going to pop that on to cook. So 7 minutes, 160 degrees, intense, it says. And the sizzle symbol is there. So what this is doing now, sorry, the thermo was going off at the same time. I've lost my train of thought now. This is using our high heat mode. So our TM7 and the model before this, the TM6, both go up to 160 degrees. So it's 40 degrees hotter than the TM5, the model before that, and 60 degrees hotter than the original TM31. And how it works is kind of mimicking a frying pan. So you can't hear it through Zoom, unfortunately, but the blades stop moving. The bottom, like the base of it, heats up, sizzles or browns the meat or whatever else you're cooking, obviously if it's onion, garlic, or whatever. So sizzles that and sears, browns that, and then occasionally the blades turn, giving it a stir. So literally just mimicking the frying pan, except you're not standing there giving it an occasional stir. It's doing it itself. And at the moment, your hand's free to do anything and everything else. So while that's cooking, I'm just going to bring you back over to our other thermo, and you'll see there how much that moved. So it's a little bit sideways now. So that's why, like I said, you just need to be a little careful when you're using the kneading mode on the TM7. It is great though to be able to glide it around the board, around the bench. And some people do find that like particular bench tops make a difference. Like mine's stone, so it probably does move a little bit more. But yeah. So that is our bread dough made in there. So 2 minutes of kneading in your Thermomix is equivalent to about 20 minutes of hand kneading. So I don't know about you guys. What was that 6 minutes of kneading there? I absolutely do not want to have that much time to knead any kind of dough. So I'm just going to get a thermo mat to pop that in. So now we're just going to sit that aside and just rest it for 15 minutes or so before shaking it out. So this is my thermo mat. I've done some rolls already on this, so that's why there's a bit of dough on it. We had some to show you prepared. So yeah, we're just going to rest that for about 15 minutes, and then we can continue working with it after that. All right, I'm just going to give that bowl a really quick rinse so we can keep cooking. And I'm going to pop that to the side. So yeah, I use this bread recipe. The dough mode's probably one of my most used modes, to be honest. But this particular bread recipe, like I said, I use for all kinds of things. So rolls, like some mini rolls, like I'm actually going to show you tonight, but also like, plain normal rolls, cheese and bacon rolls. And I actually made some mini hot dogs during the week this week for the kids. What else? Yeah, savory scrolls for their lunch boxes as well. It's kind of that time where I've started preparing to get back to school and kinder. Um, Stocking the freezer full. But yeah, I use this recipe for all of those kind of things. It's really easy to work with. And like I say, like you saw, you just kind of pop all those ingredients in, let it knead away. And obviously, while it's kneading, you're free to do other things. So no, you don't need to get the blade sharpened. Occasion, like after, it depends on your use, to be honest. They might like blunt. Well, honestly, I use my Thermomix a lot, and I've never had to replace them for being blunt. I have worn them out, one pair in all the time I've had a Thermomix, which is over 10 years. I have worn one pair out in that time. But it just depends on use and what you're using it for. So if you're doing things like grinding ice, like really hard things, or grinding nuts and that kind of thing all the time, you'd wear it out more often than if you were just cooking like this type of stuff, if that makes sense. But no, they don't need to be sharpened regularly or anything like that. All right, so I'm just going to go back to my home screen, and now we are going to start that chicken pasta with easy to replace. Yeah, the blades. So because the bowl just comes apart, they're just a new part from the mix shop. Super easy. Oh yes, good point, Hayden, about changing the quantities on recipes. I will show you on a recipe afterwards how to do that to remind me if I forget. All right, so the marry chicken pasta is the other one I want to show you tonight. Just a completely different recipe from the choy bao, but another one that is quick and easy, perfect for midweek meals and a lot of hands-free time, which I think we all need in our lives. So, like before, scroll down if we want to. Otherwise, we're just going to hit start. And to start with, we are just going to grate up some Parmesan cheese. So I've just got some roughly chopped Parmesan in there, 30 grams. What did I do with my lid that time? This. Next. Now we're just going to grate that 5 seconds on speed 8. The grating of the Parmesan is quite loud, so Zoom will mute me out for this 5 seconds. Going on from that chat about the blades, the TM7 does have a 2-year warranty as well. So any troubles that you have or potentially might have will all be covered under that in that period anyway. Your blades, like even if you were, like I said, grinding ice every day, which most of us are not, you would expect well over those anyway. Like it's, not something you would expect to have to replace often, if at all. So that is that Parmesan grated beautifully there for you. So without any of the extra additives that you get in store-bought pre-grated ingredients. And so we're just popping that into a bowl to set aside. It says rinse and dry the mixing bowl. I don't bother with this one, to be honest. A bit of Parmesan in my pasta isn't going to do any harm. So 2 garlic cloves, I'm just going to throw them straight in there. 100 grams of sun-dried tomato. Just throw it in there as well. That will automatically tick off for us. 100, oops, dropped a little bit, but 180 grams of red capsicum, roughly chopped. And then half a teaspoon of salt. And a bit of pepper, which I forgot to grab out. Tick those 2 off. And now we're going to saute those. So we're going to pop the lid back on. And now 4 minutes of the same high heat mode cooking that for us. So just remember when we're doing this, the main difference is that I'm moving from Thermomix to Thermomix and keep on cooking. But just imagine if you're making this yourself at home, you would not be, moving on to, or unlikely be moving on to a second Thermomix and cooking something else at the same time. But you would have time to play with the kids, have a glass of wine, put your feet up, fold a bit of washing, any of those kind of things. Do a few of the dishes, so you have to do them afterwards. But your hands free is the most important part of it, to do other things. So that 7 minutes is done there. And it's just telling us to scrape down the sides of the bowl and the bottom, just to release any caramelization that might be kind of browning up on the bottom there. And now we're going to pop the rest of the pork mince in there as well. So I'll just show you, hopefully without fogging the camera up too much. But that is browning up there. You kind of see at the top there's some darker brown bits of where it's really heating up with that high heat mode. But now we're going to put the rest of the mince in and hit next. And that is going to brown away there for us for another 6 minutes. So like I said, this time when you're at home is your hands-free time. But you could be making some bread rolls like we're about to, or you could be doing, anything and everything else is that we're usually doing, really, isn't it? All right, so let's just say this has been sitting there for that 15 minutes now. So this is just a little kind of plastic dough scraper that you can get from the mix shop as well. Because if you've got one of our bread mats, you just can't use knives on them, is really important. Otherwise, if you use a knife, you will damage it. But when you're making your rolls, like I said, I'm kind of using this to make little dinner rolls to go with our pasta tonight. But do whatever you like. You can, make big rolls, little rolls. You could roll it out and make a garlic bread fall apart. Anything is fine. But I just use my dough cutter to cut off a little bit. You can also use the scales on your Thermomix to make sure they're around about the same size if you want to. But just cutting off into evenish. This size is for just like a little dinner roll. I'm just going to do 4 for now. So I'm trying to show you, get the best way to show you. So everybody does their rolls a little bit differently. How I do it is I kind of use the palm of my non-dominant hand to guide, and I'm tucking underneath kind of to create like a bit of a pillow, like a bit of an air pocket with my dominant hand. So I kind of, guide, and my right hand fingers are tucking underneath so that you can see it's all tucked there and we get a smooth top after a couple of rounds. And it's all tucked up underneath. I'll show again. So lots of people think rolls and that kind of thing are difficult, but this is it. Like, there really is not much hands-on time to it. The main key with when you're making bread rolls and different things, or anything bread related, is to allow time for proofing. In different weather conditions, it can take significantly different amounts of time to get the same results when it comes to proofing. So for this particular recipe, that first step doesn't really matter, just that 15 minutes of rest. But this next proofing step is when we want to be a bit more kind of mindful of the time. So a lot of our, especially the Australian recipes, our recipe development kitchen is currently in Perth. So for those of you who are in Victoria, like me, we know that our weather is a lot of the time very significantly different. So knowing that, our recipe development kitchen is in Perth, their proofing times in a beautiful, warm, often humid environment are going to be significantly less than ours. So some recipes might say proof for an hour, or proof in 45 minutes or anything like that. The rule of thumb that I tell everyone to follow, and I always do, is just proof until doubled in size. So, in this nice weather, this more warm, humid weather, it could be an hour, it could be even less. But certainly in our cooler months, you can often proof for 2 hours, or even more. So just take that into consideration when you're making your breads and doughs and things, um, to get the best results. So just going to grab my ones I've prepared earlier. Not gonna lie, these probably could, in a perfect world, these could definitely do a bit more proofing time as well, but that's okay. I'm going to pop them in the oven now anyway, to get them cooking so we can see them at the end. Right, so I'm going to pop them in. So yes, you would roll all these out, cover them, pop them on a tray and cover them, and proof them for about, in this weather, about an hour and a half. On the weekend, that's going to be really hot, probably even less. Just make sure you cover them, because I find that if you don't cover them, they can dry out, and then they kind of form like a little bit of a crust, which then stops them proofing further, if that makes sense, because they got that crust on the outside that then restricts its growth. So cover them with a tea towel when you're proofing them. All right, let's keep going here. So what do you think? Those of you who haven't made breads and rolls and things, was that easier than what you thought? Harder? Would you give it a go now? Pop it in the chat box and let me know. So that sauteing time is done on there now. So now we're going to give it a quick chop. So 5 seconds on speed 5. We're going to give that a scrape down. So your spatula that comes with your TM7 is designed to kind of fit around the outside of your bowl and your blades beautifully. You just want to make sure, I wish you could smell this. It smells amazing. You just want to make sure that when you're scraping down, and especially running around the base of the bowl, that you're running in anti-clockwise, so you're running against the blunt side of the blade. Our sharp side is super sharp because they are so powerful and so good. You can nick your spatula if you're not careful. So just always going against the blunt side of the blades. So 500 grams of chicken. Sorry, I should also explain that your blades are, for those of you who don't know, sharp on one side and blunt on the other. So you'll see some recipes cook things, especially you'll actually see it in this recipe shortly, cook things in reverse. So that means that the blunt side of your blade is turning the ingredients. And obviously that is so that when you have chicken and things like this in the bowl, 250 grams of cream I'm doing here, that you're not shredding and chopping up your chicken or anything as you're going. So 250 grams of cream. ,400 grams of water. And then teaspoons. So 3/4 of a teaspoon of paprika. 1 teaspoon of mixed dried herbs. 1 tablespoon of stock. So that is stock paste. I'm very, very naughty tonight. I don't have any stock paste left, so I am using stock powder, which is fine. I only say that is because it's like illegal for a thermomix consultant not to have stock paste handy. Need to get onto that. So now we're just going to cook that for 12 minutes at 100 degrees. So you'll see now, hopefully you can see, should be nice and clear. So we've got the 12 minutes, the 100 degrees. We've got the spoon symbol there. So that's where the speed is. So spoon is just the slowest stirring or slowest speed. So literally just kind of gently stirring with a spoon. And then that arrow is the reverse that we talked about before. So that means that our blades are just running with the blunt side so that we're not chopping up that chicken breast. So stirring gently with the blunt side to heat, cook, and stir that chicken mixture. Does that all make sense? Let me know if you've got any questions about it as we're going. But while that's cooking, we'll go back over here. Hopefully I'm not making you dizzy with this back and forth. Sorry if I am. As that browning is finished. So now it's just telling us to scrape down the sides and the bottom of the mixing bowl again to just release any caramelization. I'm just going to take it off for 2 seconds because I can't see over the top of the camera there. So it's not really, but you can see, hopefully, now it's steaming up. That is browning beautifully in there. We're going to pop that into what we know as a thermoserver. So our thermoservers keep food hot or cold for around 2 hours. So they're also really great for busy evenings if you want to prep dinner a bit earlier, or half the family might be eating later after sport or anything like that. Your thermoserver is great for that. Forgot the camera too much there. So I'm setting that aside. It does have a lid that I'll pop on to keep it hot. And into here now, we're just going to kind of do like the saucy kind of, what's the word? Yeah, sauce to go with it. So 3 garlic cloves. So it does call for a piece of fresh ginger, which I don't have at the moment. So I'm just going to use a bit of ginger. Again, completely fine. Guided cooking is just a guide. Dried chili, again, because guided cooking is such a guide, we don't do chili in our house, even a little bit of dried chili. So I'm just going to leave that out. I always skip out the curry or the chili, that kind of thing. And then some spring onions just roughly chopped in there. So next we are just going to give that all a chop on 3 seconds, 3 seconds on speed 7. How many of you guys spice fans? Do you like a bit of chili, or would you leave it out or cut it back or add more? Let me know. I'm a bit fragile when it comes to chili. So that's just giving that a bit of a rough chop in there for us. So the other thing that we don't do is mushrooms. Well, I should say my husband doesn't do it. I quite like them, but he would not eat this if I added mushrooms. So we're going to skip those. I'm just going to tick them off. And then we're just going to add in a little bit more oil. So just going to add in. I find, if anything, the high heat recipes, like this is just personal preference, I find to add a bit too much oil for my liking. So I generally do cut it back a little bit. But again, just personal preference. And those kind of things, like you get to know what you like and what you don't like as you get cooking as well. So now we're just going to cook that for 2 minutes at 120 degrees on speed 2. So you'll see the 65 degrees, hopefully you can see that up the top above the countdown timer there. That's your active temperature of your bowl. So as your temperature, my words aren't wording right now. As your bowl heats up, you will notice that will change as well. It can be handy if you're making things like yogurt and that kind of thing, where you need to keep an eye on the temperature to make it. The other thing that you hopefully can see is that below the count timer there is a little padlock. At the moment, the padlock is unlocked. And what that means is actually that the lid's unlocked. So anytime now, I can just lift the lid. The blades will stop moving if they're moving, and I can add in extra ingredients. If it was something other than onion and garlic mixture, I could give it a taste to check it if I wanted to, see if it needed more seasoning or something. But yes, if it's below speed 2 or below, your lid is unlocked for you just to lift off and have a peek in. If you're above speed 2 and it's locked, the padlock, you just press pause and then it will unlock, and you can lift it off that way. So while that's cooking away, I'm going to go back to our home screen and just show you a little bit more about that. So like I said before, our planned recipes, you can customize this screen if you wanted to, change it to, get some daily inspiration and things rather than your meal plan. Completely up to you. We've got the pre-clean option on the side here. So your Thermomix also cleans itself, and that gives you the ability to do that. We've got our manual mode. It's not going to open while we're cooking, but that's where if you're cooking a recipe from the internet, that you just ask you to set the time, the temperature, and the speed, you can do that there. If we scroll down from here, there are a few different features and options. The next one down is bookmarks. So these are the recipes that I have bookmarked that I cook quite often, so that I can find them really easily. My recently cooked is there as well, so you can see what we've been having lately. We had hoisin pork bowls. Hubby did some whipped cream for my birthday cake on the weekend. Banana cakes, some dips, focaccias. If we keep going down, there's the trending recipes. So then we get some new kind of inspiration and idea options down here. But if we keep going down the options down the left-hand side of the screen, the magnifying glass option brings up Cookie-Doo. So this here we can search those 100,000 recipes from all over the world. So you can search them by recipe. You can add in different filters, like the number of portions you want to make, the time you want to take, the total time versus cooking time, that kind of thing. So, if you wanted to cook something that was going to be less than 30 minutes and feed 4 people, you can add that in there and do. Otherwise, you can just search literally for anything that you wanted. If we keep going down the left-hand side now, this is my recipe. So obviously this is my Cookie-Doo account, so it's all set to mine. But across the top here, you'll see the recently cooked, those bookmarked recipes, my recipe list. So you can kind of create your own lists or collections of recipes. You can do heaps of them and name them whatever you want and make them whatever you want. So I've got all kinds. We've got Christmas ones, barbecue, baking, breads, breakfast. They're all of my different collections there. Oh, sorry. Then the cookbooks that I've saved are there, and then created recipes are there as well. So these are recipes that I've imported from the recipe community or I've added to Cookie-Doo manually myself. Keep on going down the left-hand side now. We get to the manual cooking page. So this is where we can, again, enter manual mode and do our time, temperature, and speed. Sorry, I was just reading a little bit. And then we've got all of our different modes there as well. So you're about to see the open cooking as we finish off our pasta. But we've got the browning mode, which is the high heat that we've been using. So we can use it manually from here as well. So you'll see all the symbols. When we're cooking in Cookie-Doo, it automatically selects these modes for us. So we just see the symbol pop up. But the modes are all available here in case we wanted to use them manually as well. Hopefully that makes sense. And then the last one down the bottom is a couple of just different other options. So you've got your settings, your Cookie-Doo, some tutorials, and your week is in there as well. But let's go back to our Sancho bowl. We'll go back to that step. So those 2 minutes are finished. Then we're going to pop the mince back in. Those too. Looking good. And then we're just going to brown that off for another 3 minutes. I'll put that display. Now we are just going to come back over to this one. We are on the last couple of steps for both of them now. We're just going to add in some pasta. So this calls for like a spiral pasta, but again, you can change it up if you don't have that or you want to try something different. Next, and we're just going to give that a bit of a stir with a spatula just to make sure that it's all yeah. So, sorry, I can't remember who was it that asked before, but with this recipe, I would often increase the quantities a bit. You'll see in a second how full the bowl is, but I'm just going to start it and then keep talking, otherwise we're going to be run out of time. It says set time that's on the packaging of the pasta. So I'm just going to set it to 2 minutes. And this is using open cooking now. So this cooks with the lid off. So we can again see what it's doing. We can check it to make sure our pasta isn't overcooking. Particularly, I think people that use gluten-free pasta find this really good because they can keep a really close eye on that pasta and make sure that it's not, getting overcooked and getting gluggy and that kind of thing. But you can also pop your lid on if you want to. But as it starts bubbling up there, I'm going to show you. You just want to make sure that your pasta is in the sauce. Just going to lift this up. So you can see it start to bubble away there. So your quantities of your maximum quantity in your TM7 bowl is 2.2 litres. And hopefully, sorry if I'm making you dizzy, but I'll try to hold it up and show you. You can see there, that's the maximum line. So you can add a bit of extra sauce and a bit of extra pasta, chicken. You could even add some extra veggies if you wanted to. What I would normally do with this pasta is add, sorry, I'll just put that down before I keep talking, add extra water and a bit of extra cream, and then add the full 500 grams of pasta. And then that with the chicken, we add some baby spinach. Again, you could add more veggies if you wanted to. It's good for our family. So yes, this is open cooking. Again, just cooks without the lid. So kind of a bit like the pot on your stove, really. The only thing, sorry, I'll just add up on in if I was increasing the quantities a bit, I would absolutely put the lid on because it is getting a bit higher in the bowl to finish cooking. And like I can just add it on now. It's not going to harm it in any way. It's not going to stop it or give an alert because you've added the lid on. That's perfectly fine. So it just says while that's cooking to place 120 grams of fresh baby spinach into a thermo server and set aside. So we'll come back here, finish this off, and then we're all done. So we're going to give that a bit of a scrape again. I'll show you. Everything is smelling amazing. The benefit of these virtuals is that dinner is cooked for tomorrow night for us. So I'm very happy about that. So for anybody that was thinking about getting a TM7, there are, like I said, a few different ways to do it at the moment. The turnaround time for new orders is super quick, and you also can add on a set of our vacuum containers as well for a discounted price, which is, they're really handy for keeping food, veggies, fruit at this time of year, your berries and things, fresher for longer and saves you throwing things out too, which is awesome. 20 grams of soy. So yes, turnaround time is super quick. We have a few different options to get a TM7 in your kitchen. We have 24 months interest-free through Zip. We also have Hum Finance and Afterpay available. And you can also join our team and earn one, which is I'm doing too much talking and not enough concentrating here. 35 grams of oyster sauce, which is actually how I first joined the team. Would you believe it? I had a team of 5, the Model 2 ones before this one, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. And then one day I decided that I needed to upgrade. Needed to, obviously. But I saw that we had this Earn 4 offer up. I thought, oh, why not? I'm going to buy one anyway. I may as well try earning. What have I got to lose? And I was adamant that I would just earn my permits and leave. And that was 6 years ago now. Here I am 6 years later, still enjoying sharing it with everybody. So that was 15 grams of rice wine vinegar and then just a bit of salt as well. So next, I'm just going to give that a little cook off for a minute 30. And then we're all done. So I'm just going to grab those rolls out of the oven where they're all played up and we're all finished. Bear with me for 2 seconds. I'm just going to get a couple of bowls and plates out. Yes, absolutely, Riley. You can. So a big part of Cookie Do, one of the features that we all love, is the ability to meal plan. So you can meal plan out for the week. So if you did it I usually am very good at my meal plan, but school holiday life has not been my friend when it comes to meal planning. So usually if I go back out into my week, my week would be completely full there with all of my recipes. But if you're in the recipe itself, and the Cookie Do has an app that you can use as well that is integrated, so it all works in together. So once you've meal planned out for the week, then you can add it to your recipe list. So you add each ingredient to, oh, sorry, that was the wrong one. Add to shopping list is the one I wanted. That adds all the ingredients to your shopping list. And then on your app, you just go through your shopping list, tick off what you've already got, and then you can automatically send your shopping list to Woolworths online. So you can do all of your groceries through the app. You can add in a few extras. You can also, change things around if there's a particular brand you want or don't want. You can do all that through Cookie Do. All right, I've just got in my letter. So this Sancho Bao is a beautiful one for these warmer days where you want something a little bit different, maybe a little bit lighter. But again, like I said a few times, I have little kids and they are not going to eat these lettuce cups. But all I do is serve theirs with wraps or tacos instead. It's kind of a bit, I definitely wouldn't say it's a taco mix, but a bit like a taco mix. So you could serve it in taco for the kids or serve it in like a soft tortilla kind of thing as well, which is how my kids usually eat it. But I'm just going to move that back. So that is all done. So it just tells us to scrape it down again just to release any caramelization as we empty it into our thermo server. See that scrape. So your Cookie Do Your Guided Cookie will step you through everything. So it'll step you through like the plating up, anything, even the steps that aren't necessarily in your Thermomix. So it says serve it, pop it into a thermo server or a serving bowl, and then You just pop a couple of tablespoons in your lettuce cups. I quickly did these, so they're not the prettiest cups you've ever seen. But there they are. And then garnish it with, or add some bean sprouts, some fresh green sprouts, some sliced red chili, which we all know how I feel about that. Some sliced spring onions. And then you can add some peanuts if you want to as well. Sorry, it's not very sure about it. But that is the Sancho bao done there. It is absolutely delicious. It's not one that I would have ever made pre-Thermomix, to be honest, if it wasn't for guided cooking. It's just not something that I would have thought about, but it had amazing reviews, so I had to try it one day, and have not gone back. It is so good. Look at that, perfect timing there. Our pasta. Actually, I think that might need another minute or two. Oh no, just perfect. Distracted and didn't have my baby spinach to my Samo server. You can, again, leave out your baby spinach if you want to. I generally serve up the kids before I add it in because I'm a realist and I don't want to be picking out. I'd rather just take it out first rather than have to pick out the baby spinach that goes with the kids' pasta. So I don't know if you can see it without me tipping that out too much. The sauce will thicken up a little bit more too as it cools. And you can still see that chicken is nice and chunky. It hasn't kind of shredded up because we had it on reverse. Which again, like when you're in guided cooking, it's all automatically selected for you. You don't have to think about it. It's very easy. But just because we've been talking about it, I want to show you that. And otherwise I'm going to swap it everywhere. It is our Marry Me chicken pasta there as well. Yes, absolutely. Well, you can rate them, right? And then you would use the notes function. I've got such a mess here. I don't know whether I'm coming or going. So then you'd use the notes function. Do you remember I showed you that at the bottom of the recipe when we opened it up? So use the notes function to add in different things that you want to remember. The other option is to edit the recipe, and then you can do, you can save it as a kind of a new recipe just for you, if that makes sense. So that, if you want to make the changes in the recipe ingredients as such, if that makes sense. Cool. And there are our beautiful little dinner rolls as well. So trying to make enough room here and I'm struggling. I might just get a little bored. There so I can hold them up a bit easier because the thing's hot. So that's it. That is two quite different but absolutely delicious dishes and some beautiful fresh little dinner rolls. All done. Obviously, we did them at once in 2 thermos, but even if you were doing these yourself at home, the dishes, they're both well under an hour dishes each when you're not doing other things at the same time. So there you go. Put them all in there for you. So yeah, the Marry Me chicken pasta, the Sancho bao, and some beautiful fresh dinner rolls. If you've got any questions, please pop them in the chat box. I'm more than happy to answer anything. But that's us done for tonight. Yes, thank you so much for joining me for our first virtual of 2026. I hope that it's been helpful for you, helpful to help you decide if ceramics is right for you, or helpful to give you some new inspiration, some hints or tips. Please, if you have any questions at all, pop them in the chat box or reach out to your consultant. They are here to help you. They will check in with you tomorrow to see if you have any questions. But once again, thank you so much. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you at another one of our virtuals again soon. Thanks, everybody. You're very welcome.